Hello, everyone. I'm Sheely Nanavati, and I will be your host today. Welcome to our third webinar in our series, Becoming the Leaders of Tomorrow. In this series, Shape Your Future will bring you powerful young leaders so you can hear from the top world changers and their experiences and journey. You can find our website with the link in our comments to find out more information about Shape Your Future and for details and notifications for our other events. To hear about our latest updates and information, be sure to join our subscription list. Now, let me introduce everyone to our guest today, Gitanjali Rao. So at the age of 11, Gitanjali was named America's top young scientist in 2017 after winning the Discovery Education 3M Young Scientist Challenge for inventing a quick, low-cost test to detect lead-contaminated water. Since then, she has been named an eCyber Mission STEM and Grant winner, a Technovation World finalist, a Carson Scholar, and an Intel ISA finalist. Additionally, she has been recognized as one of Forbes 30 Under 30, Time Magazine's top young innovator, a TED speaker, and Marvel Hero Project subject. Gitanjali recently published a Young Innovator's Guide to STEM, which shares a roadmap to innovation, and she is a Forbes Ignite member, empowering innovation in startups and schools. Gitanjali, I'm sure you've had an incredible journey so far, and I cannot wait to hear more about it. Please tell us more about you.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Gitanjali Rao. I go by Anjali. I'm 14 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school. And I basically, that introduction summed it up. I love using science and tech as a catalyst for social change to solve problems that people are facing all over the globe. One of my most recognized work is called Tethys, which helps to detect lead in drinking water faster and more inexpensive than the current methods out there today. Apart from that, I have a device called Epione to help diagnose prescription opioid addiction at an early stage. And lately, I've been working on a service called Kindly to help prevent and detect cyberbullying. And apart from that, my recent work, which will most likely be my future project as well, is looking into biocontaminants in water. So more of those living things aspects like parasites and bacteria, which is super interesting to me. So apart from my research and scientific work, my goal has really been to jumpstart the innovation journey of a lot of other teenagers and young innovators out there. So based upon that, I run global innovation workshops to help people identify their inner passion for innovation and, changing the world and making the world a better place. And you mentioned my book, but yes, A Young Innovator's Guide to STEM. It is out for pre-release, and that has been my biggest, hopefully, source of ways to get more people involved into learning about their STEM journey, because I can't travel all around the world to talk about, what other people can do. So I really hope that people take away a little bit of something from either this conversation we're having or, anything else that you see me in the future.
No, it's remarkable everything you have done so far. I can't wait to get to know more about the specific details and everything of your journey so far. So I want to kind of start by asking you, of course, you're most recognized for being able to detect lead-contaminated water. So I know you were able to kind of look at the Flint, Michigan crisis and come up with the idea there. But it was at such a young age. So how were you able to create such a useful and applicable solution at such a young age and kind of be inspired to make that change?
Yeah, so I guess I was always my personal drive was always based upon things that inspire me, things that I connect with. And it's to this day, it's the same thing, is anything that I find a personal connection to. Like the biggest thing with the Flint water crisis is that even though I didn't live in Michigan, it was just so many kids my age being impacted by something that's just clean drinking water. Like that's supposed to be a basic right that everyone has. And obviously it was kind of heartbreaking when you realize that this isn't necessarily the world we're living in. So I kind of had to switch gears and think about things in more of a scientific perspective, if that makes sense. Now my work focuses on using science and tech to solve these global problems. That's my personal approach, but I start out by realizing, what do I have a connection to? What do I like? What do I enjoy looking at? And that kicks off the entire process for me.
You kind of touched on that right there, kind of leading to my next question. So you do have like so many ideas for different projects, like even in cyber mission, ISEF, Genes in Space, Technovation. So kind of what should students focus on, or what is your advice for students who are looking for a science fair idea or project?
Oh, great question. So my biggest thing is just do something that you have a deep passion for. And I know I'm going to probably end up repeating this a couple of times, but that's like the biggest thing when you go into the innovation process is, if you don't find that spark, if you don't find something that you love to do, then you kind of get lost from there beyond. So when you're going into a science fair, when you're going into a competition, start out by thinking, what do I like? What do I enjoy? And then everything will kind of set itself into place. Like, I follow a procedure, or like a prescriptive process, which is also outlined in my book, which is observe, brainstorm, research, build, and communicate. Like, that basic process defines everything that I do. So when you observe something, make sure it's something you enjoy, make sure it's something you find a passion for. And immediately, that's when you know that's where you have to start, is by asking your question, what, or like, why are you here? What makes you happy? What do you want to see better in this world? And it could be something as big as I want to tackle the global warming crisis, to something as small as my shoes are uncomfortable, and find a way to fix that, because that's really what is up to us now. Like, there's only so much we can do with creating a research project, but apply that to the world problems. Think about what you love to do, and make it work for you.
No, I think that's really insightful. Like a lot of the times, I know even sometimes me and some of my peers, we try to find like focus on the biggest problem and trying to solve those really big problems to like create an amazing science fair idea. But sometimes, like you said, you have to really find what you can connect with and what you're passionate about, because otherwise, kind of moving forward from there in your project would be challenging, like as you mentioned. So once you have your idea and you know that you're going to work on, what do you think is the most important part of working on a science fair project? Like, is it the idea, the execution, the presentation, or something else?
I think it's a combination of everything. And but like, everything matters. Just like, the biggest thing I like to think about is, think about you're being judged at any given point in time. So like, throughout the whole process, just understand, what is my final goal? What is my final goal? And don't do it for, like, it never works if you do it with the idea of, I want to be recognized, I want to win. Rather, start with the idea of, okay, this deadline is here for my own personal motivation. This deadline is here so I can get feedback. And that's a great way to kick it off. Some great pointers towards like doing a science fair or participating is always finding a way to refer back to your broader goal. Refer to your work. You're not like, and that's the biggest thing that I've always liked to say, is that my work, it doesn't stop at a science fair. Like, I try and go beyond it, because everything I'm doing is not just for the money, just for the prizes, just for the recognition. I want to go above and beyond that, and I want to do more. And so, if that's what you want to do, state your goal. Tell everybody that, hey, this is my broad goal, this is what I saw, and be unique in your own personal way. And I think those are some great starting points for just standing out.
No, I think that's really lots of good points you mentioned. Like you said, trying to connect your project to kind of the bigger goal. I think oftentimes a lot of people kind of lose track of like what they're really even doing the project for. It's mainly for the bigger picture and to meet your bigger goal, not just to win or get recognition or anything like that. Um, you mentioned earlier more about your book, and it's really incredible how you're able to kind of write and publish it and inspire so many kids during this time of need. Do you mind telling us more about your book and kind of the process of writing and publishing it? Like how you came up with the idea and like made it happen?
Yeah, so my book is called A Young Innovator's Guide to STEM. The subtitle is Five Steps for Problem Solving for Students, Educators, and Parents. Um, it is not your typical parenting book. That's what I'm going to start out by saying. Um, like, I actually gave it to some people, like, hey, what do you think about this, my friends? And they were like, it gives me the vibe of a parenting book, but it makes me want to read it. And it's exactly what it is it's almost like a coaching guide. Like rather it describes my story, it describes who I am, but more than that, it describes why I wrote the book. It's to empower more students like you guys who are watching, to just be innovators, understand that passion. It is, I think it's a great mechanism to get yourself into the innovation process. It gives you a prescribed process, some real world examples, a curriculum for teachers to use, as well as workspaces so that you can start to fill it out within your book, so that you have your own innovation journal sitting in front of you. And I think it's just a great, personally, it's a great way to showcase some of what worked for me with all of you guys. I can I'll actually drop the Amazon link in the chat right here, for the book itself. But again, it's called A Young Innovator's Guide to STEM. It is out for pre-release. It will be released in March, early March.
Awesome. No, that's really incredible. So it's like an ultimate guide to kind of innovation, problem solving, all of that stuff. And in case if anyone's, yeah, there's the link, and we'll also link it in the YouTube video and on our website once it's posted. No, that's really incredible how you're kind of sharing all of that experience and kind of your take on like the whole innovation and problem solving process through your book. So you're doing so much, and like in the past 3 years, you have received more than like 23 different accomplishments, which is amazing for someone who's like only 15. How are you able to kind of give all the needed time and effort to all your different projects and essentially like create huge successes out of almost all of them?
Ooh, I think like with the ideas and the projects themselves, there's something that it tackles a huge audience basically. Like the impact for water quality is pretty big. Opioid addiction is pretty big. Cyberbullying is even bigger. So things like that, I like to look at an idea of things that have a high impact, but also a high feasibility. So something that I can do, but something that impacts a lot of people. And I think that's one of the biggest standing out factors is I like to go for those bigger problems, but I like to do it in a overall simplified way, in a way that I can do it and basically anybody else can do it. And that's really, I think, where most of that recognition comes out of. And again, I don't start by thinking of that. I start by thinking of what can I do? And, it's almost like it happens by chance. And I'm so glad, like, I'm so honored and humbled to like have that recognition, but it's not what defines me, it's like, it's just another thing. I really like to focus specifically more on, my mission, my goal, my vision. And then, stuff like that comes next. And so that's what I'm like really emphasizing here is just go after what you enjoy first, and then everything will start to fall into place.
No, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I think, like you mentioned, kind of like the recognition comes with it, and then, like yeah, like everything you said, just having all of the different things you're working on kind of connect to your bigger goal and the bigger impact that you do want to make. So still being in high school, like you mentioned, you're a sophomore and working on like all of these bigger goals and kind of missions. How are you able to balance schoolwork and all your extracurriculars and projects?
Yeah, so time management is a huge thing. Most of my time management actually revolves around, and that's like a huge sacrifice you have to make too, kind of, is like what you like to do compared to what you're kind of doing just for the thing you're doing, if that makes any sense at all. Like I used to be that person who like I kind of did everything. Like I did a lot of things. Like I ice skated, I danced ballet, I played God knows how many sports. I did a lot of things, and it was like it was not annoying, but it was almost at a point where it was like stressing me out. And like I loved everything that I was doing, but I was like, I need more time to do the things that I really love to do. And that's like a sacrifice almost that you have to make to figure out the things that you actually want to stick with and then the things that you want to do on the side. Like obviously I didn't bond through like the idea of soccer and basketball. Like that wasn't up my alley. So I had to ditch soccer practice and did not hate that. But I came into like I still stuck with a few things. Like I still play piano to this day. I fence to this day, and stuff like that. It's finding the things that you're really passionate about and sticking with it, because that's the biggest thing with time management is just like even now, like I can't honestly say I am perfect at managing my time because it's an evolving skill. It's something that is always in the works, but I use like my weekends after or like Fridays after school to complete any research work. And usually I just focus on like a very basic principle of if I commit to something, I'm going to do it. And that's like how my time management works.
No, I like 100% agree. Like you said, kind of making the sacrifices that you have to and choosing what's more important to you and what you really love and kind of like you said, like you want to continue working because we don't. There's only 24 hours in a day. We don't have time for everything. So yeah. So my next question, we'll do a couple more before we open it up to our audience to ask us a few. How did you get your research position at the University of Denver, and what are your tips and kind of advice to other high schoolers looking to get into research positions?
Yeah, so my University of Colorado Denver research, it was actually just totally based on cold emailing. And that's like my biggest thing to you guys is do not be afraid to cold call and cold email, because my entire research depends on it. Is every little step that I'm taking depends on cold emailing someone or cold calling someone. It is definitely a scary thought to like, I don't know this person, they're going to think I'm weird, but more than that, it's just they're kind of excited that somebody else is taking on another project. And more than half the time, they're more than welcome to accept you into their own labs. And I got shot down multiple times, like countless number of times, but that really shouldn't stop you, because continue emailing people and don't like stop on emailing. Like I think I send maybe like one or two cold emails like every week. Like it's something that I do very often for like answers for lab space, sometimes for talking to other people, kind of getting like just some more research in place. And it's just a thing that I've loved doing. So I think cold emailing is a huge way to get involved with this. And for any of you who are looking to work with a like a university school or a state school, do it, because it is well worth like your time. I think I learned the most from going to the University of Colorado Denver lab every single Friday and just spending hours on hours on hours there, just watching my PCR samples run and run and run. But it's so fun and it's so unique and it's an experience that not a lot of people get. So take advantage of that.
No, definitely. Thank you so much for kind of like sharing that. I kind of wanted to ask a follow-up question, kind of piggyback off of how you said like cold emailing is really important. It's like one of the best ways you can really get a research position. A lot of times people or high schoolers, when they look and they're not sure who to email or how to even find like what are they interested in and which professors or which kind of research labs they should even contact. What is your advice on that?
Yeah, so for my advice on that, it is start out with what you're already doing, kind of, if that makes sense. Like, what is your focus? What do you want to focus more on? Like, I already know that I definitely want to go into something related to biology. So then I I cold emailed the head of biology department, and then they kind of simplify me down to who I need to talk to. So don't be afraid to like reach out to a bigger group, like a higher group of people. They will help you sort down your way, and nobody's out there trying to like stop you from reaching your goals. It's kind of just like you halting yourself. So find a way to kind of put that out there, say, hey, I'm interested in this. Who can I talk to? And even like a simple Google search can get you to the place you want. It's just like, I literally looked up CU Denver computational genetics. And that's exactly where I figured out everything that I want to do, people I want to talk to, the people I work with almost every single day. So yeah, just simple things like that is the best way you're going to understand what you want to do, understand which lab you want to talk to, not hesitate to talk to people and to search on Google.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like, hope that helps anyone who's like looking for a research position, not sure how to start, what to even do. So it is 4:50, so we're gonna open it up. Oh, sorry, 4:50 Western time. We're gonna open it up to some questions really quick. Our first question is, which college are you planning to attend, and which major do you hope to go into?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore in high school right now, so I'm not like totally sure. I definitely, I kind of, I'm sorting around about a different group of schools. I definitely want to go somewhere where they have a pretty strong biology group, especially some sort of genetics focused area. I've been very interested in gene editing recently. And if I were to major in something, I think it would be I guess, something related to computational genetics and product development. It's basically everything that I do in a day. And I have so much fun with it, and I love math. So that's kind of how I want to go about it. I'm not like, still not super sure, but maybe if you come back in a couple of years, I'll know.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question is, when was the first project you did and how did you do it? Can you tell your journey working with various team members?
Yeah, so the first project I did was actually with a team, and it was a chair that goes underground to save space on the International Space Station. I was in second grade at the time. I was a very small child. I still am, but at the time I was even smaller, and it was an idea. It was a thing that we loved. We loved the idea of things going underground. We were unfortunately not able to dig a hole in our backyard, but it was okay because I think I learned so much about the idea of teens, or like teams in general. Like, how do you come up with a good team? How do you maintain a team in second grade, which is insane. But the whole journey was kind of just this idea of I want to work with people I'm friends with, but I also want to work with people who I know will do work. And I do have a section in my book about choosing the right team and choosing the right people to work with. And I think that it's just solely dependent on the idea of, what are my expertise compared to everyone else's expertise? What can I dominate best on compared to everyone else? And you got to just balance that playing field. And when I was in second grade, I obviously did not know how to do that, and my team was selected by my teacher. But now, if I do participate in team projects, that's really what I do.
No, awesome. Thank you for sharing. There's a lot of questions. We'll try to
Yeah.
get through them all, but if you don't have any, if we are not able to answer your question, you can always ask outside. Our next question is, when do you suggest to start emailing people? I'm assuming they're talking about cold emailing.
Yeah, so with cold emailing people, it is a very, very broad, I guess. There's not necessarily like a sophisticated timeline towards it. I would say as soon as you have an idea and you know what you want to do it. Even if you don't know what you want to do, start writing emails to everyone you know. I sent about 100 emails for Tempest, my lead detection tool, because I needed to talk to an expert in microcomputers, one in like carbon nanotubes. So start cold emailing as soon as you know kind of what, like the general idea of what you want to do. And my charger fell out. But apart from that, like focus focus more on telling them about who you are, and don't make the emails too long. That's a great tip for cold calling as well, or cold emailing. And then another thing is, make sure to follow up 3 weeks in, just to make sure that everyone is they got your email. And even if they don't respond, it's okay. Start cold emailing other people. But yeah, thank you so much for your question.
No, yeah. If in case that was a lot of good information, just remind that we'll be posting it online afterwards, so you can review any parts you want. But like Gitanjali said, kind of like following up after 3 weeks and keeping it short and simple, so they don't feel overwhelmed by your email or anything like that. Our next question is, how do you manage budget in your projects?
Oh, so for budgets in my projects, I started actually not looking towards a budget. I start out with this idea of I'm going to build something with what I have at home, which is like cardboard boxes and like, I don't know, little things. And then slowly it starts ramping up where people start hearing about your work and then you get receive funding for it, or you ask for funding for it, or you like look towards what you can do next. So don't start with the idea of, oh, I need to fundraise first before I can do anything. Start with the idea of build with whatever you have, because I can guarantee you some of the best innovations were not built off of money. So build with what you have, and then you can start looking at, hey, I want to take this to the next level. How do I partner with organizations? How do I fundraise?
I think that's a really good point. Like a lot of times, like don't be scared to not kind of pursue an idea or start an idea because you're like, oh, this is way too expensive. I'm not going to have enough funding. Just start it with what she said, what you have around, and then move forward from there. Our next question is, sometimes ideas seem impossible to do. How do you find a certain material or code to do it? I think they mean like, how do you figure out where to start?
Yeah, so I'm going to like reiterate this, and I think this actually like tackles a couple of these questions in here as well. But like my inspiration behind any step, like knowing when to start, is just starting with what you like. And I think that's it, like it's a very broad answer, but I promise you it works. I actually run these innovation workshops and I have all sorts of students, and they're like, I can't come up with a good idea. And I was like, okay, well, tell me three things you like. And they're like, okay, dance, soccer, and food. And I was like, okay, choose one of those and tell me one problem. Like, okay, I like dancing, but it sometimes hurts my feet to like go on point shoes. And I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. How can you make that better? And this girl is like, I can find a way to create a more comfortable point box at the end of a point shoe, which is like a ballet term, and it would be made out of some sort of more comfortable silicone material, which actually I can make out of meta materials, or something I learned about on the internet the other day. And I was like, there you go, you have your first innovation. So start based on that, start with what you like and start observing that one thing. And that's what inspired me to kind of go after issues, and hopefully that's what inspires you to go after topics that you want to choose, whether it's for a competition, whether it's for a specific, for a science fair, or whether it's just for yourself.
Awesome. So thank you for kind of sharing that. I hope that answered like a few of the questions there. And then we have a few questions. So for social media and emails, Gitanjali, feel free to like add any of your socials or email in the chat for anyone who wants to
Yeah.
contact you. I think we have time for a couple more questions. So when did you know which area you want to focus on?
Yeah, so I'm putting my socials in the chat right now. But it's all like in the mix of things. Like I think it's like I kept saying, what do you like? But it's also like learning about, like I watched a documentary about like biocontaminants in water the other day, and it sparked something. Just the little things like that is basically how I know I want to do something, or I want to go after something.
Awesome, thank you. And then who is your favorite scientist you look up to and why?
Yeah, so Marie Curie has always been a huge passion, or like just learning about her has been a huge passion of mine. She's the one who actually introduced me to STEM as a whole, not her personally, obviously, but learning about her in school. And then apart from that, some great female scientists are actually Charpentier and Dubna, who actually won the Nobel Prize for CRISPR-Cas9, their gene editing technique, which is insanely cool. Loved reading the news about that. And I think more than anything, I was just really excited to just learn about more female role models, even just scientists in general, and how cool everything they're doing is. And all my handles are actually in the chat, including my website, which includes a great way to contact me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And back on the question, yeah, I completely agree. Like looking to different scientists for inspiration, different people who you kind of like connect to, love their work, all of that type of stuff. We have time for one more question. And let's see. what inspired you to choose science and innovation?
Yeah, so I think it was when I was like very young, a lot of what I was doing was to put a smile on someone's face. Like smiles affected me. They caused a ripple effect. And instead of that, it was that in the beginning, but it slowly turned into a positive change. I like seeing positivity grow. I liked being an optimist. And then I started to use my scientific knowledge, what I loved about science, to create that positive change. And that's really where everything started. Is I like calling innovation using science for kindness, because that's literally what it is. It's just being kind to other people through the means of technology and these really cool things that we see out there.
No, yeah, definitely. That's really great. So sorry, someone is asking when is your birthday? I think they're spamming the Q&A with the question.
That's okay. My birthday is on November 19th, so it's coming up.
Ooh, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question. But yeah, so it is 5 o'clock, and unfortunately, this is going to be the end of our webinar. But thank you so much, Gitanjali, for this interview. You're so inspirational and gave such great advice to us today. I'm sure we will all take this away and use this going forward.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you. The birthday is the same as someone's sister's.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So for our next series, we'll let you guys all know soon with our email updates and our website. And other than that, that's the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And thank you once again, Gitanjali.
Thank you.